Monopoly on Violence by Keith Hackley. Introduction. The greatest degree of liberty is not secured by anarchy. Bertrand Russell. In a popular internet video, President Barack Obama was recorded saying this: "There is room for private contractors work in a mess hall, providing basic supplies and doing some logistical work that might have been done in-house in the past. I am troubled by the use of private contractors when it comes to potential armed engagement. I think it puts our troops in harm's way. It creates some difficult morale issues. When you got private contractors who are getting paid 10 times what an army private's getting paid for work that is carries similar risk. When it comes to our special forces, what we've seen is a potential drain of some of our best trained special forces. You can't blame them if they can make so much more working for Blackwater. I am not arguing that there are never going to be uses for private contractors in some circumstances. What I am saying is that if you start building a military premise on the use of private contractors and you start making decisions about armed engagement based on the availability of private contractors just to fill holes and gaps, that over time you are, I believe, eroding the core of our military's relationship to the nation and how accountability is structured. You are privatizing something that is what essentially sets a nation-state apart, which is the monopoly on violence. And to set those kinds of precedents will lead us over a long term into some troubled waters." It was surprising to see a U.S. president using a word monopoly, a word with such a negative connotation, in association with the government. The very word monopoly arouses feelings of indignation, yet a monopoly on violence is precisely what a nation-state is supposed to maintain. According to Thomas Hobbes, people established a government, and the government would in turn enforce its monopoly on violence. Quote from Thomas Hobbes, quote, "The only way to erect such a common power as may be able to defend them from the invasion of foreigners and the injuries of one another, and thereby to secure them in such sort as that by their own industry and by the fruits of the earth they may nourish themselves and live contentedly, is to confer all their power and strength upon one man, or upon one assembly of men, that may reduce all their wills by plurality of voices unto one will. This is more than consent or concord. It is a real unity of them all in one and same persons, made by covenant, and every man with every man, in such manner as if every man should say to every man, I authorize and give up my right governing myself to this man, or to this assembly of men, on the condition that thou give up thy right to him, and authorize all his actions in like manner. This done, the multitude so united in one person is called a commonwealth, in Latin civitas. This is the generation of the great Leviathan, or rather, to speak more reverently, of that mortal God, to which we owe under the immortal God our peace and defense. For by this authority, given him by every particular man in the commonwealth, he hath the use of so much power and strength conferred on him, and by terror thereof he is enabled to form the wills of them all, to peace at home and mutual aid against their enemies abroad. And in him consisteth the essence of the commonwealth, which, to define it, is one person, of whose acts a great multitude, by mutual covenants one with another, have made themselves every one the author, to the end he may use the strength and means of them all, as he shall think expedient for their peace and common defense." Hobbes believed that people needed a master because amongst masterless men there is perpetual war of every man against his neighbor, no inheritance, no transmit to the son, nor to expect from the father, no propriety of goods, no lands, no security, but a full and absolute liberty in every particular man. Declaration of Independence gave a similar rationale for the state. It states, to secure these rights, the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Historian Howard Zinn, commenting on the Declaration, wrote, "Law is only a means. Government is only a means. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, these are ends. The ultimate end, our institutions, is the protection of our rights." To this subject we now turn.